It's been a little minute since I've been on here, and I was trying to think about ways to get back into not only my creative practice but also recording videos. I had really gotten like good motivation over August into September with recording daily, but mental health really got in the way. And also just having a lot of things to manage. Manage is the right word. So what I know about my pattern is that when that happens, I usually take a step back, especially from going live and everything, which is hard because it has its consequences, related to the algorithm and consistency, the algorithm and consistency. And so here I am. And also, it makes for good content in the sense of it helps me to share with you all what this looks like, and how I kind of move through, when I'm at these moments. And it's definitely, I would say, a block, you know, in the creative world, folks call it, a writing block, a art block. And I definitely know what it is when it comes up, but then because I'm aware of it, I'm like, okay, let's navigate like what to do, like how do we get through this. So here we are. And I wanted to share with you all what I am doing to navigate through the current block that I have. And so, one of the things that I thought would be helpful was I started to reflect on that burst of creativity, creating during August and September. And so I was like, let me just go back through and look at the images that I created during those live streams. So definitely go back and check out the videos that I posted for August and September. And the majority of those live streams, I sketched I sketched live while I was talking about an art topic. And so I was like, let me go back through and just look at the sketches that I created during those live streams, because those are my initial sketches, so that's what I started this morning. That's what these little tags are. I have these to not only bookmark in my sketchbooks, but also in my books. And so I'll show you all an example of how I bookmark in my book during times when I have blocks and barriers. But so I started doing that this morning. I was like, let me bookmark some of these images, from the ones that I sketched. I think that's all in this one. And then I stopped and I was like, well, let me make a video while I at least while I at least bookmark the last one. So again, these are sketches that I created during August and September when I had that big burst of kind of motivation to get through some of the art content. And in those live streams, I sketched while I was talking through different topics related to arts, culture, pop culture, around arts and culture. So definitely check those videos out. I'm going to bring those back. Oh my gosh, even though I haven't been live streaming, I have still been in the practice of reading and also creating the outlines. I just haven't gone live. So I'm getting back in the flow of that now. Okay, and this is my process of how I do that. So we bookmarked out of this sketchbook. And so what we're going to do now, and so I started bookmarking in this one and then I stopped. And that's why I was like, oh, let me come, let me just come online and bookmark the last few that I have. Um, so these are also images that I created during live streams. Um, let's see, it's this one. And what I was thinking, like, why am I doing this, right? And the one thing that I want to do, because I created so many, um, what I plan to do is, because these were just initial sketches during a live stream, I want to make art prints out of these. And so I am just going through now and like bookmarking everything so that I can come back to it and redo these sketches. And so it's easy, so it'll be easier for me to find these once I come back to them. Um so this is helping me think through not only once I recreate these original once I create these for art prints, like, do I want to still keep some of these items in the same places? Do I want to add something? So this is helpful for that. It's also inspiring me and getting me back in the mode of my daily creative practice. I would say I've been kind of off my square for like the past maybe 2.5 weeks. I feel like that's right. Um, and these are all sketches that I created during those live streams. So I'm like, let me get my image library kind of together. Let's see, I can show y'all here. I something like this. I'm gonna bookmark this too. I really love this one too. I created this one as well. So this will be something that ends up as an art print in some kind of way. Um, and I want to have these marked off already so that I don't get too lost in the weeds once I actually sit down to recreate them. So this is another part of the creative process and practice. For me, I would say that this is a process for a collection, and that has been something that I have been sitting with. I created a collection from 2020 until 2022 that has seven seven images in it. And so I haven't created a collection since 2022. And that collection is mixed media and collage art. And so this collection will be quite different because I'm using some different mediums, but still black women film non-binary centered bodies. So that collection from 2020 to 2022 was of images that highlighted black women, femme, and non-binary bodies related to different themes. And this one is still focused on highlighting black women, femme, non-binary bodies, but very different medium, very different backgrounds, exploring different themes. So I guess this is how I'm starting it. I'm talking through this because I didn't plan it this way. This is just how it's unfolding. And so I think that it would be helpful for me to talk it through and kind of document it in a way. Because there's something very organic that's unfolding related to this. And so here we are. So my plan is once I get myself together to start recreating everything that I just bookmarked, I will sit down and just recreate those images that I bookmarked. This is also another. I think I did some short videos of this. I also did these during August as well. Just these really quick sketches that could potentially also be some kind of collection too. I haven't decided yet. I just needed to get it out, you know. When I created these, it was over, this was one night. I made all of these on the night of August 9th. Again, I had kind of a burst of energy. And oh, this is August 10th too. So over the course of 2 days, I sketched all of these out. And I don't know what I'm going to do with them as of yet. They just, I was going to say they just kind of happened. And so we'll see. Um, we'll see how I recreate these in a later collection. And then these are just some random body sketches, looking at different postures. So the last thing that I want to share with y'all about how I work through artist blocks. So not only looking back at my previous work and then seeing how I get inspired from things that I work on, but then also I have a collection of art books. And one of the things that I did over this past weekend was I was like, let me look at some of my art books to kind of get inspired. For those that are just coming in, I've kind of taken off, had a impromptu break for the past 2.5 weeks from like live streaming and also in my creative practice. And so this is me in my process to start back not only with live streaming but also with my creative practice. And so these are some of the things that I've been doing. I just shared with you all how I've been bookmarking these sketches that I did create from August to September. So I took some time to do some reflection on that and look through those images. And I was like, okay, I created like my own library of sketches. So now I'm going to go back through and actually redo them, add things, take things away, maybe change some colors, maybe not, but recreate them for final art prints. And then the other thing that I did was I looked through my art books. So I'm not going to go through both of these books. This is just a nudge that if you have some art books kind of hanging out, maybe actually like look at your art books, sit down and like flip through them, you know. The one that I want to share is a book on quilting. One of my kind of secret art practices. I love to knit. I also love to crochet, and quilting is something that I don't do, but it is a creative practice that I follow. So I love to go to art exhibitions that specifically center quilters. And this is one of the books that I purchased quite a few months ago that centers the practice of quilting. And so I was like, well, let me actually read like one of the passages. And so this book is basically a huge interview book, a book of interviews rather, of different quilters, and it's concentrated in the South here in the United States. And so they're from all over, but the majority of the folks interviewed in this book are Southern quilters. And so when I first purchased this book, I went through it and I marked off the pages that have the interviews with Alice Walker and Maya Angelou and some of the other. Those are the two that come to my mind, Alice Walker and Maya Angelou. I bookmarked those interviews. So I was like, let me actually like read the Alice Walker interview. So that is what I did over the weekend to help with like my artist block. I actually like sat down and looked at one of my art books and read the interview for Alice Walker and talks about her quilting practice. And so I offer that as some inspiration for you. You know, like if you're having a tough time, I sat down and I wrote some notes as well after reading this interview with Alice Walker. So I offer that as a place of inspiration for you too, you know, that may be checking out one of your art books, actually reading one of the passages. I didn't want to overwhelm myself with this. So, like I said, I just flipped to Alice Walker's interview, and it's only, I think it's 3 pages. Yeah, 3, 4 pages. So I read that and wrote some notes on some of the questions that were asked and how Alice Walker reflected on her quilting practice. Some of the things that stood out were the interviewer asked Alice Walker what's the significance of the colors that she chooses for her quilts. The interviewer asked Alice Walker what happens when she sleeps under the quilt. So that was a really fun question related to dreaming and imagination, and also like folk art as well, which I'm really inspired by. The interviewer asked Alice Walker if she had made a quilt for her daughter, and why that was that she hadn't and what was going on with that. So we got to read a little bit more on just their relationship dynamic, which I thought was really interesting to bring into a book on quilting. The interviewer asked Alice Walker what she wanted the general public to know about the practice of quilting. There was something else. Um, the interviewer asked Alice Walker about the relation of quilting to the camaraderie of women. So that question talks more about again, relationship dynamics and relationships with other women. So I thought that was really interesting and powerful, related to friendships and how like crafting can bring a community together. You know, how the practice of quilting in because Alice Walker is black, because I'm black, in black women centered communities, how that can be a place for you to come together. Oh, this was the other thing that I thought was really interesting. And I'm sure that Alice Walker has talked about this in other places, but to read her process for how she prepared to write The Color Purple in this book, I think was really interesting, and gave me some insight into how, what happens when you are an older artist and you're pushed into your art practice, and what that looked like in her life and how much it resonated for me. as really quickly, she talks about how leaving her husband, selling her house in New York, two houses, and moving across the country and basically starting her life over, pushed her into this meditative practice, which prepared her to write The Color Purple. And she says that during that time when she was writing The Color Purple, in the evening, she would go and work on her quilts. So that gave me pause to again just think about some things related to my own creative practice, and my work. And yeah, so I wanted to share that. Maybe that's helpful for somebody. I've been on here 20 minutes now. And yeah, I wanted to just share with you all again these two practices that have been helpful for me to get back into my creative practice. One involving kind of cataloging and compiling the sketches that I created during a specific time where I did have a burst of energy around creativity, and so I cataloged those so that I know which sketchbooks to go back to for that. And then actually sitting down and looking at and reading something out of one of my art books, and what that looked like. And then I wanted to just share some of the gems that stuck out to me from Alice Walker's interview in this particular book. So I hope that was helpful for you. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Have you recently, had to kind of step back from your creative practice? And what are some of the things that get you back into your practice? What helps you with inspiration, places that maybe you hadn't considered, or if this was helpful.